for those who bet it. The game, at 24-0, it felt over, and it was over. That being said, the takeaway from the game is Philadelphia's dominance in the trenches, both offensively and defensively. The Eagles are, Howie Roseman, and the philosophy that he has is built from the interior. That's a philosophy that I agree with 100%. And certainly on the defensive side, Philadelphia's defensive front controlled the flow. KC had a first down on their very first play and didn't get another first down again till the second half, till garbage time, essentially. And that's the strength of the front four. It wasn't like Vic Fangio was blitzing. He didn't have to blitz. The front four were able to dominate. And offensively, even though Saquon didn't go off for Philadelphia. And again, the story here was the Eagles' defense blowing up the offensive line of scrimmage for Kansas City. Philly's offense did what they needed to do, but Saquon stays under, and Hurts threw the ball very effectively. Obviously, the KC defensive game plan was, let's make sure Barkley doesn't beat us, and he didn't. But instead, the passing game beat them, and the defense beat them. So from an entertaining standpoint, well, we've seen more memorable Super Bowls than this one. From a betting standpoint, I'm still really mad about Kenny Pickett throwing that pass at the end of the game. That one cost me. And it cost me a winning day with the props and all of that. I had under 2.5 players to throw a pass. And I didn't think it'd be a blowout enough that Pickett would be coming in and chucking, Yeah. And even on the third down, I'm like, maybe he'll just run the football. No, he threw an incomplete. But that one cost me. But other prop-wise, I think we finished 5-4 for the day. But we had the big play on Kansas City, and then that was dead wrong from the get-go.
Yeah, did not see any story that got Kenny Pickett a pass in that football game. Teddy, we have odds already up for next season. I'm looking at.
Of course.
I don't want to give out sportsbook names, but it rhymes with Shmi Chixty Knife. KC Chiefs plus 650, Philadelphia plus 650, Buffalo plus 700, Baltimore plus 700, and of course, my favorite bet, the New York Giants at plus 25,000. I am not touching any of these right now. It's so early, but man, they expect a lot out of Kansas City next year. Both Philly and KC favorite to go back again. Chances of that happening, in my opinion, is almost nil. What's your takeaway on the look ahead?
So what was the rhyme that it rhymed with? Because I have no idea what you were talking about there.
Bet 365, dude.
Oh, okay. So one of the global books. Yeah. I'm going to talk about one of the, and again, we talk about these numbers that are coming up. I got bet MGM numbers right here. Legalized, regulated. Philly plus 650, Baltimore plus 700, Buffalo, Kansas City plus 750, Detroit plus 850. Those are the 5 favorites. And frankly, if you're going to bet a favorite, doing it early probably isn't going to hurt you all that much. Now, I'm not going to do anything until we have the opponents for next year, but we don't have the schedule itself for next year. And in my mind, that's a very meaningful factor. I don't make any future bets in the NFL till the schedule release, because then you know who's playing who when and how many bad spots they have and how many bad rest spots they have and all that kind of stuff. And before that, you're guessing on all of that. So my personal handicap for the NFL 2025 season won't begin until we see that schedule release. And obviously, we still have free agency. We still have the draft. There's a lot to come. But the 5 favorites, Philly, Baltimore, Buffalo, KC, Detroit. Beneath them, San Francisco. And then there's a big drop-off when you're in the 20-1 range. Washington, Green Bay, Cincinnati. 22-1, the Chargers, the Rams. 25-1, the Texans. 30-1, Minnesota, Denver. That might be the sweet spot. You know, we talk about teams like Washington, Green Bay, Cincy at 20-1, the Chargers and the Rams at 22-1, Houston at 25-1. All those teams, in my mind, would be in the live going into the postseason type of finale mentality. And then you look at the long shots. You know, obviously you talked about the G-men and the Titans, 200-1. Browns, Saints, Raiders, 150-1. Patriots, Panthers, 125-1. Colts and Jaguars, 100-1. I mean, if you're looking for long shots, there's worse long shots than that. Pittsburgh at 80-1. Again, there's weaker long shots, in my opinion, than that trio. Pittsburgh 80-1, India 100-1, Jacksonville 100-1. Arizona 66 to 1, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Atlanta 60 to 1. I mean, you can find some theoretically competitive teams in that bigger price range, but are any of those teams primed to host the Lombardi Trophy next year? I say no. But interesting to discuss, interesting to look at. And of course, on today's opening line report, we'll go deep into the Super Bowl. Myself and Drew Martin will grade a whole bunch of props and talk about some of the funky stuff that happened there. And we'll talk a little bit more about the future book for the NFL next year. That'll be top of the hour, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, the season finale of the NFL opening line report with myself and Drew Martin right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel.
Yeah, and guys, it's one of the best shows we have on WagerTalk, an outstanding show. Opening line report, last one of the year. Teddy, we did not plan on discussing this, but Aaron Rodgers, where he's going, the odds are up. And Pittsburgh is plus 120. San Fran is plus 350. I don't see a world where Aaron Rodgers is in San Francisco. The Las Vegas Raiders are plus 750 and the New York Giants plus 1,200. I think there's value in both of those bets. Any quick thoughts there?
Does he have to play in order to get paid? Or is it a push if he retires?
Yeah, it would be a push if he retires.
Yeah, if it's a push if he retires, I wouldn't argue with. I have no one. So what people? That's one of the things people ask me when you walk around and you're talking to the regular people. They always ask me two questions. They ask me, A, who's going to win the Super Bowl,
right?
And B, where is so and so player going to go? Okay, when it comes to winning the Super Bowl, there's some analysis that I can give. There's some thought process. When it comes to where a player is going to land, I don't know. You don't know. The beat reporters covering the teams don't know. The GMs don't know. Nobody knows. It's as good against anybody.
You could use logic, right? I mean, logic is available to us, and it feels like San Fran has a quarterback, but I could be wrong. Let's turn our attention to some NBA. Anthony Edwards, day to day, the line suggests he's not going to play. It's minus 9.5 with Cleveland. They're playing Minnesota tonight, a total of 230.5. Cleveland winners of 2 in a row and 6 of 7. How are you betting this game?
Let's break it down. Cavs and T-Wolves. Right now, looking at the free WagerTalk live odds screen, I'm seeing Cleveland minus 9.5. Juice in some spots. Total's been bet up to 230 in this one. And Minnesota coming off, I'll call it an epic fourth quarter against the Blazers on Saturday. They trailed the whole game and then complete domination down the stretch. Portland was up 84-71, late third quarter of that game. Minnesota put their foot down, 43-14 run to close out that contest, win and cover for the T-Wolves. Head coach Chris Finch, proud of my guys. One of my favorite wins of the year, no doubt about it. Everyone played well, came in and fought. Even when we couldn't score and things were going our way, I love the team spirit. That's certainly a positive sign. And when we look at Minnesota, since January 4th, they've got 6 losses. Those losses have come by 2 points, by 2 points, by 2 points, by 7 versus Cleveland, by 1 and by 2. They're in every game. Full season, they've been underdogs 11 times. 7-3-1 against the spread. They've been excellent in this role. Last 10 games, 8-2 straight up. They're playing good basketball right now. Now, as you mentioned, doesn't look like Anthony Edwards is going to play today. Mike Conley's dealing with a finger sprain. He's still very questionable. Julius Randle's not going to be going. He's going to miss until the All-Star break with an abductor strain. Dante DiVincenzo, he's out with a toe injury. So we've got Randle and DiVincenzo out. Edwards and Conley questionable. And obviously this is a line that says if one of those guys plays, I would expect to see some Minnesota money before tip-off. Cleveland, I love what they did at the trading deadline. Okay, DeAndre Hunter for Niang and LeVert, neither of whom was going to get much playing time in a competitive series in the postseason. That's a positive move. Long term. Short term, well, let's see. They're 0-3 against the spread, their last 3, even though they won 2 of those 3 straight up. Kenny Atkinson, after the win, head coach Kenny Atkinson, after the win against Washington on Friday, quote, "We went through some stuff and we're all kind of tired in terms of the trading deadline. Told them in the locker room, a lot of teams lose this game. We got a heck of a team." And they do. But when a coach is telling us that his team's a little bit mentally tired, The All-Star break is coming just later in the week. And by the way, they're just 1-5 straight up last 6 as a single-digit favorite. They've been blowing out the bad teams, but not winning by margin against the better ones. I'm not convinced that Cleveland is the right side here. If I'm playing, it'd be Minnesota plus the points, even with the injuries. I think the T-Wolves give the Cavs a game, especially given their track record recently in hanging tough against everyone. So I'll look at Minnesota plus 9.5 as the big game breakdown for Monday, Prez.
Teddy Covers joining us, guys. We've got an incredible promotion. You could use it on Teddy or anybody else over at WagerTalk. 30-day all-access pass under $8 a day. That's $239. You get an all-access pass to any handicapper. Teddy, what do you got going for the clients tonight?
Well, the NBA is finally heating up. Prez, it took a little while this season, unfortunately, but we're 5-1 on the last 6, 83% run, 67% here in February, and we have a couple of plays up already in the association. We may add more, but you can get that. You can get them both together. 1 day all access on my page, wt.buzz/TC. And of course, Prez, you talked about the one special offer. Also want to give you another one. Sport 30 at checkout. Sport 50 at checkout. Darn it.
50.
Sport
Sport
50 bucks off
50,
NBA pass.
50.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Sport 50 at checkout will get you $50 off a 30-day NBA All Access pass. The NBA is heating up right now, and you're not going to get charged for the All-Star break. It's days where we have plays, so the 30 days will roll over post All-Star break. Take advantage. That's a good offer. Sport 50 at checkout gets you that NBA 30-day All Access.
And I'll tell you guys flat out, Teddy and I have been destroying the NBA for the last 3 years, and both of us had a rough go this season, and both of us are heating up. Teddy, I think it is a perfect time to buy a month of your or my NBA because we're too good, consistently good, year after year after year, to not have. I mean, I'm set up for a monster run, and so are you, bro. So best of luck, my brother. Lots of love. Guys, check Teddy out. 1 p.m. Eastern, the opening line report. One of the best shows we've got going. We still got a lot more happening. Steve Merril will be joining us. We got Jesse Schule as well. Jesse yesterday tried to break Derrick Henry's combine bench press record. He failed by 1. We'll talk to him about that. And Gianni's going to end the show. Before we get into all of that, some business from my end. I had an incredible trip, and I really appreciate you guys asking me about it. I went to Trois Vallées, which is Courchevel, Merril, and Valthorn. It's the biggest ski resort in the world by far. It's probably the size of Manhattan. I think it's like 400 square miles of skiing. It was one of the most epic, beautiful trips I've ever been on in my life. Shout out to all the guys on the trip with me. There was 12 of us. It was magnificent. I am completely run down. 20 hours of travel yesterday, and I made it home with half an hour to spare before the Super Bowl. I do want to tell you guys real quick, I was able to watch a lot of shows, especially yesterday, being stuck on an airplane for many, many hours. And I want to tell you guys, Landman is a masterpiece. You can find that on Amazon Prime. It's a Taylor Sheridan show. It's incredible. But I also watched American Primeville. One of the most amazing shows I've seen in a long, long time. It's on Netflix, and I highly recommend it. American Primeville. It is the story of the Mormons, the Indians, the American Army, the pioneer settlers, all in the early 1800s. It is the most violent show I've ever seen in my life. Steve Merril joining us, everyone. Steve, have you got a chance to check out American Primeville?
No, I've heard good things about Landman, so I will check that out. And I love good violent shows. One of the best shows I've ever seen was called Hell on Wheels. It was on AMC about 10 years ago. It was about the railroad. So I have a feeling it's kind of like that, maybe. The Wild West we have a violent history. People think the American everything's the world's so bad now. Check out how the country was founded. It's some rough stuff around that Civil War era.
Well, listen, I saw Hell on Wheels, and it was an excellent show.
Yeah.
It is like a cartoon for toddlers compared to how violent this show is.
What's it called again?
American Primeville. This show is
Okay.
the most highlights from World War II are less violent than this show.
Yeah, I don't know if I need all that.
It is
I don't know if
intense. Anyway, nice to see you, my brother. Did you enjoy the Super Bowl?
Yeah, it wasn't a great day for us. We split out our 2 receiver props with KC, and then I did throw in a third prop, which was under 1.5 interceptions, and it just seemed too obvious, too easy. I know better. Mahomes had thrown 1 in his last 11 games. Hurts had thrown 1 in his last 15 games, and they both throw 1 each, actually 2. The math was there, though, Prez. It was really a weird prop because sportsbooks had both quarterbacks at under half a pick at minus money, which means they were both plus money to even throw an interception each. And we were getting under 1.5, like minus 160 range. It just didn't make mathematical sense. But of course, sometimes the math doesn't play out. I do say this. I think Philadelphia was a better team. I do think it was a one-off bad game for Kansas City. I'm not sure it would always play out like that. But big picture, some actionable info here for next season. I'd be very careful with the Chiefs. I mean, I've seen this play out in other sports. You just kind of feel like this was the final straw, and that, the loser of the Super Bowl, as Prez, about half the time doesn't even make the playoffs the next year. The 49ers didn't make it this year after being favored last year. I'd be cautious with Kansas City, maybe in a little advanced season wins underplay on their total wins.
Steve Merril joining us, guys. Steve's as good as it gets in NBA and college basketball. Made profit for his clients the last 3 years. We're going to talk that now. We're going to give you guys some actionable betting information. And Steve, let's start right off the bat with Orlando hosting Atlanta. And this line, listen, it's an interesting line because you got an Atlanta team who has beat this Orlando team twice in a row. They've won their last 2. They've won 3 of 4. Orlando has won, 2 games out of their last 5. Yet here they sit minus 5.5 favorites. How are you attacking this game?
Yeah, I mean, we got the 11:30 Eastern injury report here to work with, and Trae Young is listed as probable. So I would expect him to go tonight. And I'm a little surprised this line is still 5.5, like you said, Prez. My concern is having Young out there, but I do think he'll be out there. And if he is, I like the Hawks. So you can obviously play this later in the day when you get more confirmation, although, sometimes they'll scratch guys 10 minutes before tip-off. You could always play an in-game line. You could also play the game the minute it starts, right? The in-game line is going to be the same right after tip-off, and you'll know that Trae Young is out there. So I really think that's a way to play NBA games nowadays that people don't talk about a lot, is like right at tip-off, even use the in-game line for the first 30 seconds. But I do like Atlanta in this spot, like it a lot better with Trae Young. It looks like he's playing. And you mentioned how the Magic are not playing good basketball. Well, that was the Hawks up until about a week ago. Atlanta had lost, 9 straight, I believe 8 or 9 straight. They've now won 3 of their last 4. Their only loss came by a single point against San Antonio. So they're now 5-0 against the spread, 7-1 ATS their last 8. And there is still value with Atlanta because, once again, I don't understand why they're getting 5.5 here. I think part of the reason is because for the last couple of years, they were the worst point spread team in the NBA. And, we talk about how, when financial markets bottom, sometimes it's a V, but normally it's a smoothing process. And I think we're getting that with the Hawks, and we will get some value with them going forward. I think they're in better current form, and the line is too high. Take a look at Atlanta as a live dog tonight.
Steve Merril joining us, everyone. And guys, you can use that promo SPORT50 on Steve as well. Let's talk Lakers playing Utah. And the Lakers are red hot, Steve. I mean, this team is putting together a run. They've won 5 in a row. They've won 9 of 10 games. They are covering as well. They're playing Utah, but it's a huge spread here, plus 12.5. Last time these two teams played, it was a 1-point game in Utah. Now, obviously, there's a different lineup right now, and the Lakers have owned this Utah team 6 out of 7. But that is a big line, Steve. How should we attack this game?
Well, the big news tonight is it looks like Luka Doncic is supposed to be in the lineup for the first time in a Lakers uniform. Now, as of 11:30 a.m. Eastern, the injury report has him listed as questionable. It also has LeBron James listed as questionable, but people do expect Luka to make his debut tonight. So let's assume he's going to be in there. Once again, keep an eye on this. This is the late game at 10:40 Eastern. It's on ESPN National TV. Hard to imagine ESPN's going to be happy if Luka and LeBron are not on the court tonight. So I think they will be. And this is a situation where on the surface, you're like, wow, that's going to be a focused, motivated spot in LA. They'll be rocking, maybe. So if you like the Lakers, maybe play them first half. But I'm actually going to lean Jazz here in this game, take a contrarian tilt. Look, Utah could get blown out by 40. It could happen. And people always cry when a game gets blown out because they think it's a bad handicap. It's not. This game could go one of two ways. They could get blown out or they can hang and keep it close, and the Lakers could struggle with the new pieces at play. And I think that's actually the more likely outcome, is that LA struggles a little bit. And once again, winning and having to win by 13 or more are two different things. So yes, maybe the Lakers come out with some energy early here, but I like Utah full game plus the 13.5. And you also could look at the total here over 234.5. It's risen a little bit from the opener of 233.5. And I do think this new lineup will be a weaker defensive lineup. Doncic, not a great defender to start with, not fully healthy. And then on top of that, you just lost Anthony Davis, one of the best big men in the NBA, which helps your defense. So I think the defense will be a lot weaker. So if you want to stay away from the side, I would look at the total over 234.5. Could be worth a look.
There we go. Steve, another gentleman, Stephen Martin, in our chat room writes, I missed Prez. That Jewy mother-in-law voice is enchanting. How am I supposed to take that? Is that a compliment? I mean, he missed me. That's good. The rest of the stuff doesn't make any sense. Man, can you imagine a woman sounding as gruff as me? Oh, my. Well, Steve, thanks for joining us. Yeah, that would be horrible.
I was going to say, the only worst Prez would be a woman looking like you. So it could be worse.
I don't know, man. I think a woman looking like me might be better than a woman sounding like me.
Chime in the chat.
Yeah, let us know. Love seeing you all. Big Munch, Danny, B, Daddy, Wash, Bill Sandoval, Waj. Really appreciate you guys here. Please hit that like button. Steve, let's go to our next game, my brother. I'm not going to set it up. It is in college hoops. It is Baylor versus Houston. How are you betting this game?
Yeah, Houston right now, number one in some of the net rankings and different ratings. They always seem to creep up there and then underperform, obviously, in the NCAA tournament. Haven't gotten it done yet, but they always have their calling card of being a fantastic defensive team. And right now, really depending on which efficiency-adjusted rankings you look at, they're either one or two. I have them second right now as the second best efficiency team in the country in defense. So they have a huge edge over Baylor, who's not even top 60. These are two very good offensive teams, both top 20 in efficiency. What's interesting, though, is the pace of play. Obviously, Houston plays extremely slow. They're one of the 5 slowest half-court teams, again, in the country this season. Baylor almost in the bottom 300 as well. So this game should be extremely low-scoring and slow. The total has actually gone from 131.5 up to 132. And I think one of the reasons is because, as I mentioned, these are two very good offensive teams. But once again, let's not overthink it. No pun intended. Neither team takes a lot of shots from three-point range. They get more scoring down low. They both play extremely slow, and they are still two good defensive teams. And I think Houston at home especially will dictate the tempo and really slow things down. Even though it's ticked up a bit, the only way I would play this total would be under 132 between Baylor and Houston. This is your ESPN game tonight at 9 Eastern.
Brother, what do you got to promote?
I believe it's a 30-day special right now, all sports, all access, both college and pro basketball for about $6 a day. Instant discount on my page, Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. And I know the football season is over, and we finished the NFL in an incredible run. We are 30-12 heading into the Super Bowl. We look forward to September when it kicks off again. But make some money right now with basketball. I am still number one all-time in NBA profit at WagerTalk. And baseball starts in just a couple months. I won over 100 units in baseball alone last year. So get a 30-day basketball for about $6 a day. Or if you want to get a one-year all-access and get baseball and football as well, it works out to about $1 a play with promo code SM365. Full details along with a daily free play every day on my page, SteveMerrillWagerTalk.com. And get there quicker with that shortcut you see on the screen, WT.buzz/SM.
There we go. Steve Merril, outstanding stuff. One of our listeners, Caden, asks, hey, Prez, are you sending out an NHL play today? Caden, it is to my chagrin and frankly disappointment that there is no NHL until February 22nd. So we currently have 12 days without NHL. The reason for that is that there is something called the Four Nations Cup about to begin. That is a made-up exhibition piece of total nonsense stuck directly in the middle of an NHL season for absolutely no reason. It is 4 random countries, America, Canada, Sweden, and Finland, all playing against each other for a trophy no one's ever heard of. I am utterly baffled at the stupidity of what is about to transpire. And can you imagine if Connor or Austin or Nate gets injured in this exhibition piece of utter nonsense? I mean, I am baffled at why this is happening. I could vent about this all day long. It is the stupidest. I mean, imagine if, the basketball season just stopped in the middle, picked 4 random countries to have some made up competition, and voila, we have to wait till it ends. With that said, the only thing that matters is there betting opportunity in the 4 Nations Cup? Can we make some money with this nonsense? And that is what Jesse Schule is going to talk about right off the bat. Jesse, do you even know why this stupid, idiotic tournament is happening?
Nice setup, Prez. Pretty negative on the 4 Nations. I agree with some of the things you said. 4 random countries. That's my biggest concern. Why Sweden, Finland, USA, and Canada? Where's the Czech Republic? Where are the Slovaks, the Swiss, the Germans?
Russia? Russia?
Well, we know why Russia. We're not supposed to talk politics. We know why Russia wasn't invited. The same reason they weren't invited to the Olympics. But to me, as a Canadian, I think back of the Canada-Russia rivalry even more prestigious than the Canada-USA rivalry. I'd love to see Canada play Russia in any international tournament. And I love international hockey. And unlike you, I don't really ramp up my hockey betting until the month of March when teams start jockeying for playoff spots. So I'm looking forward to this tournament. I have high hopes. I'd rather see this than the All-Star game. I hope it takes off. And I hope next year they come back with a 5th team, maybe comprised of all those other nations that weren't invited to this tournament. But as far as how to bet it, well, it's 8 days, and they're going to cram a bunch of games into 8 days, round robin. The top 2 teams will meet in the final. Canada is the favorite. USA behind them, and then Sweden, and then Finland. I actually think that the Swedes and the Finns are going to come in with a bee in their bonnet. They are not going to like being playing second fiddle to the North American teams. And these teams have talent. I mean, Sweden has won a bevy of gold medals over time. They can compete with the likes of Canada. And my concern with Team Canada is they have the weakest goaltending trio in the tournament, I believe, with Binnington, Hill, Sam Montembeault. Their starter is likely to be Aiden Hill, who ranks 24th in goals against average in the NHL and 30th in save percentage. You look at his counterpart for Sweden in the opening game in Montreal, and you got Jacob Markstrom, the former Calgary Flame and former Canuck, with a goals against average of 2.20. He ranks in the top 10. So that's 4th in the NHL, his goals against average, and top 10 in save percentage. Save percentage is probably the more key statistic there. I think the underdog's live here. Neither of these teams are going to have time to gel or practice or get on the same page. And you're going to give me the team with the better goalie and give me 1.5 goals. I'm going to look at Sweden plus 1.5 goals in the opening game of the 4 Nations. And as a Canadian, I'm going to hope that Canada wins it in a shootout or by 1 goal.
Firstly, I didn't know you were Canadian. Where are you from?
I'm from Vancouver Island, Prez, but I've lived in Thailand for 25 years.
Yeah, well, Vancouver Island is freaking spectacular. So nice place to grow up, my
pretty
friend.
Spectacular as well.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Especially if you, we're going to stop right there. Jesse Schule joining us, everyone. He likes Sweden plus 1.5 in the first game of the most stupidest, idiotic tournament in history of the world. This just in, by the way, Jesse, the NBA is now stopped for the next 10 days. America, Vanuatu, Fiji, and Argentina will be playing a 4 Nations NBA Cup. Any thoughts on that?
It wouldn't surprise me, Prez. I mean, we did just see Luka Doncic get traded for an old broken down center that's now out for the next month. So, you know, anything's live in the NBA.
Yeah, and you know, I'll tell you, can you explain the Brandon Ingram trade to me by any chance?
Well, at least they didn't give up anything. What did they give up for Brandon Ingram?
A first
I guess that, yeah, first, but yeah,
for
no,
a guy
I guess.
who is done in like a month on a team that's going nowhere, who needs to stockpile draft picks. Masai, if you're listening, please leave. You won your cup. Go somewhere else. You know, I hear there's a Four Nation NBA tournament in Vanuatu that might need you. Jesse Schule joining us, everyone. Jesse, let's talk some NBA, the Kings and the Mavericks. Where are you going in this game?
Well, I mentioned the trade that sent Anthony Davis to Dallas. There's quite a few conspiracy theories floating around the internet about this one. And I know Prez doesn't like conspiracy theories, but it's really tough to wrap your head around why anybody would trade Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. And there is speculation that the ownership might have plans that don't involve winning on the court. And now that the debut for Anthony Davis was highly successful. He looked great in a Mavs uniform. So they go on that emotional roller coaster of that high to a crashing down to an emotional low when they find out now he's got an abductor injury and he's going to miss the next month. And then you got a Kings team that's battling for the play-in. These two teams are neck and neck in the play-in. And the Kings are 100% healthy. Nobody on the injury report. You got Dallas with Davis out. You got PJ Washington questionable. And you got Max Christie questionable. And speaking of Christie, the look on Jason Kidd's face in the press conference when they announced the trade reminded me of Chris Christie in the press conference where Trump was announcing that he was running for the Republican National Convention, and Chris Christie looked like a hostage. That same expression on Jason Kidd's face. So I'm all about the Kings +1 here. I think it's just a disastrous emotional spot for the Dallas Mavericks.
Jesse, before we get into our next game, which is going to be the Celtics versus the Heat, you tried to break Derrick Henry's bench press combine record yesterday, and I think you live streamed it. What went down?
Well, I've been trying for the last year to break Derrick Henry's record, 22 reps at 225 pounds. It's a daunting task. I started out last year. I got to 18 reps. Then a couple months later, got to 19. Then a couple months ago, I got to 20. Yesterday, I petered out at 21 reps. You know, and I'm still pretty pleased with myself about 21 reps. I'll give it another attempt. I turned 49 this summer. Still feeling pretty good. And if I can get to 22 reps and tie or pass Derrick Henry's NFL Combine bench press score, I think that's something certainly to be proud of.
There we go. I agree, dude. That's 21 at that type of weight is ridiculous. I could not get one in, and Teddy would literally be indented just holding that bar up. I sent you my ski video. Guys, did you check out my Twitter and watch this almost 56-year-old man do a huge jump? Go over to my Twitter, Prez WagerTalk. At Prez WagerTalk is my Twitter handle. Check out my jump. Jesse, I was impressed with myself.
I liked the video. My only criticism is I would have liked the cameraman to zoom in a little bit closer.
You know, you can zoom in yourself, right? Like, you understand how that works, right?
Well, I was viewing it on my laptop, so, a little different there.
Fair enough. So, Jesse, we got Tatum on day-to-day. Brown is day-to-day, yet the Celtics are still favored by 4.5 going into Miami. How do you bet this game?
Well, you nailed it, Prez. I think the Celtics might be mailing it in tonight. However, I'm going to look at the player prop market. I will mention last Monday I came on this show. I gave out Ammon Thompson over 21.5 assists and points. He went off for a triple-double. And I'm going to look at Andrew Wiggins here, and I'll be honest with you. My intention here was this is going to be Andrew Wiggins' debut for the Heat. Often guys making their debut, you want to fade them. I wanted to see what kind of number the books were offering. But when I seen a number of 15.5, I'm not fading that. That looks a little bit low to me, to be honest. Wiggins scored 25 in his last game for the Dubs. He averaged over 19 points per game in the month of January for the Dubs. Yet we already saw Jimmy Butler go off for 25 in his debut for the Warriors. Now Wiggins at home against the Boston Celtics in a focus spot with potentially the Celtics mailing this in. And you're going to give me a line of 15.5. I'll go Wiggins over 15.5 points. And I will point out, Prez, number one all-time at WagerTalk with player props in the NBA. Number one overall profit in the calendar year of 2024 with NBA. So I happen to know what I'm talking about from time to time when it comes to the association.
There we go. Jesse Schule, everyone. Thanks for doing this, brother. Anything quick to promote?
Got a college hoops play today. 6 straight winners with college hoops. Going to go for 7 straight. It's my Patriot League Punisher.
There we go. Jesse Schule, everyone, brother. Thanks for doing this. I know the time zone difference is tough. You are amazing. I look forward to seeing you lift more weight. Get it the hell out of here. Guys, before we bring Gianni in, I'm going to give out an actual client bet tonight. This is a client bet in college basketball. It is Clemson minus 4.5 versus North Carolina. And I am not buying this whole letdown argument here for Clemson after beating Duke. This is a North Carolina team. They're not a good team this season. Clemson's a good team, not North Carolina. And I don't see them looking past anyone at this point. North Carolina has proven it just can't be trusted in the spot, which is why the spread is where it is. And North Carolina, it finds themselves as a dog. I'm expecting another strong performance from Clemson, and I think they win by close to double digits. Take Clemson minus 4.5 against North Carolina, and that's a client play. Gianni The Greek is joining us. Gianni, how was your Super Bowl, my brother?
Good, not good. The props, I hit a couple long shot props that I did end up profiting on the props. I tried to narrow it down, but unfortunately, if enough people watch WagerTalk Today and Last Call, they got a ton of those steam props that I didn't use as premium plays that got there, like the shortest touchdown under 1.5 yards, that one team scores 3 consecutive times, like those kind of props. I obviously couldn't give everything that we bet. So overall, we turned a profit with the props because we just fired so many. But obviously, we lost the Chiefs bet. We did have a Eagles first half bet. Again, these weren't, I'm not saying everything client plays. I'm saying everything I was giving out that I bet for these groups throughout the week. Just like 50, 60 props.
Right.
But for the game, they had Eagles first half. They had Chiefs for the full game. And no second half bet, except I bet a little bit on the over in the second half. It just seemed like square bet, but it was obvious. But I ended up losing money overall. When all the dust settled, I lost some money as far as the package play goes. It wasn't a great Super Bowl. Wasn't my best, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I went 4 and 5 for my clients, but I did list a bunch of long shot prop bets that didn't count for my record. I wrote in there, these are bets that are below 1%. So they don't count for my record, but here are all the things I'm betting. And I did give out Xavier Worthy 2 touchdown receptions plus 1,600. And that really got me a winning day overall. And like you, Gianni, I loved the second half over. I pounded that second half over. I just felt like Philly was not going to let up. And we knew Kansas City was going to find their way to scoring at some point. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%. But that's in the rear view mirror.
Yeah, we're going forward. Got to move forward.
What do we got going today, brother?
Got some NBA and some college basketball we've already gotten down on. The NBA game you guys touched on, and the line's starting to move against us. We jumped on the Miami Heat at +6 and +5.5, and also took them on the money line at +180, all the way down to +170. So obviously it had to do with information of players sitting that they look to take advantage of. But right now it looks like the market's moving back the other way because I'm seeing like 6s out there now, even 6.5, 5.5 at the sharper shops. So yeah, it should maybe still be a good play. I released it. I like the Heat in that spot. I like them as home dogs. I did sprinkle the money line as well. We'll see how that turns out. In college basketball, it's mostly the added game. The only regular board games that we got down on, and I haven't released it because I'm kind of with you. I'm not too sure I want to fade Clemson here. They took 6 on Clemson. Right now it's at 4.5. So it's 6.5 actually is what they took that I got down on. Now it's 4.5. So it's a completely different bet, especially with 5 and 6 in college basketball. So I don't fault anyone now to look in the other way because, again, there's no 6.5s out there. But we also went under 134 at 133, all the way down to like 132.5 on Baylor Houston. So they really like that one under. That's obviously going to be one of them opposite public versus the betting syndicates. And rarely do they get out ahead and bet the unders this quickly. But because it's a zero-sum game, you have to at times if you see that inefficient number, because the public's going to bet this one over. By the time this tips off, 8 out of 10 recreational bettors will be on that over. Just look at the points both these teams are coming off of the last few games. Yeah. Finally, the rest is an added board where we have 306, 515, Arkansas Pine Bluff plus the 14 and 14.5, also under 155 in that game. And then 306, 503, Mississippi Valley State plus the 19.5, plus the 19. So it's a little early in the day. I know most are still having a little Super Bowl hangover, us included. But by tomorrow, the day after, everything's in full swing. Like I talked to my guys in the steam room. We had it open yesterday. We went over so many props. So I hope people made some money. And those that like the Eagles, good for you. I'm glad you guys cashed the ticket. They blew them, pillar to post. But like I said, within 2 days, we're going to forget about the Super Bowl. We're going to discuss it the next day because everybody's talking about it. And of course, that's what all the sports shows and radio are talking about. But by Wednesday, we're going to have forgotten about it and be looking forward to March Madness. So don't make the game matter any more than it should.
Right.
And year in, year out, that's kind of the lesson with the Super Bowl. If you did make it more significant than you should have, good for you. If you made some money, but pull back the reins and, proper money management, because we all lose it a little bit at the Super Bowl. Like I placed a couple more bets than I probably shouldn't have while I was out and about. I didn't release the subscribers or anything, but I'm not in this racket by accident. We all have a little gamble in us.
Gianni joining us. Gianni, one of our listeners writes, Javier writes, do you think the Chiefs will have a Super Bowl hangover next year? I do, Gianni, and I think we're about to see the Chiefs take a slide backwards. I expect Kelsey to retire. Their running game really was horrible this year from start to finish. With that said, they had a lot of injuries. But I really think where the Chiefs struggle is stopping that pass rush. And unless they restructure that offensive line, I think we're going to see a Chief team struggle to make the playoffs next year. And we saw this during the Brady era. So don't sit there and say, oh, well, Brady made the Super Bowl every single year. That is just not true. And not only that, but the Chargers are improving. I think the Raiders will improve. We know Cincinnati is going to come in with a huge chip on their shoulder. I actually think they're plus. Cincinnati right now is plus, where is it? They're plus like 2,200 or 3,300 to win next year's Super Bowl. I think there's tons of value there. So yeah, my answer is I expect Kansas City to take a huge step back. What about you?
Yeah, myself included. I mean, listen, as long as you have Mahomes at the controls, you're always going to be live, but it's the players around them that's ultimately going to matter at the end of the day. And like you said, with other teams coming up and the Chiefs kind of losing that cloak of invincibility now, people aren't as intimidated. And let's not forget, it's been a season with the Chiefs where they kind of got extremely lucky, meaning they won a lot of those tight games. They didn't win by margin the entire season, which is kind of like, I wasn't afraid to bet them yesterday because it was, around a 1-point spread. If it was, upwards of 4+ points, then you'd have to think this team hasn't been winning by margin. Why would I look at them, to do it now in the Super Bowl? With that said, we obviously look like the numbers guys that thought Philadelphia should have probably been favored proved to be correct. But I agree. I think that the Chiefs should regress, especially coming off a year where they got extremely lucky in one-score games. That usually doesn't carry over year to year, like turnovers don't. If you're so high plus in turnovers the following year, that's probably not going to happen for you. The opposite's also true. If you got unlucky, you should get a little bit luckier the following year. So I think that will regress, especially in those one score games. I don't think they're going to be able to win at the clip they did this year. That should cost them. And other teams are coming up from behind, like you said. So, yeah, it's not a future that I would be looking at. No way. No way.
Yeah. Yeah, look, Denver as well. I mean, their division is no cakewalk, to say the least. Any bets on where Aaron Rodgers is going to go?
No, I haven't heard anything yet. And sometimes I'll get a little hint from someone here or there to be like, hey, this has a good probability. What's the number on it? Can you get anything down? I haven't gotten anything yet on the Rodgers, and I'll be interested to see if anything comes in where people are trying to, guess where he's going, and a couple teams that offer a little bit of value. But so far, nothing at all. You?
Well, I mean, I've heard nothing, but I'm using logic. And logic to me says, ain't no way he's going to San Fran. I don't see him playing in Pittsburgh, and they're plus 120, the favorite. I think at plus 750, getting to play for the Raiders with Tom Brady taking over really feels like a lot of value to me. And I'll tell you something, Gianni, the New York Giants. This is a New York Giant team that if they had a quarterback of any substance, they've got weapons. They've got a great pass rush right now. They got a good rookie wide receiver, and they're drafting third behind two teams that are going to take the top two quarterbacks off the board. So my thinking is the Giants at like plus 1,200 or Vegas at plus 750. And I think you can bet both because they're so juicy. Anyway, that's it for the show. My brother,
real quick, I just saw a sign.
Yeah.
I just saw a sign right now. I just looked on my screen, and I swear to you, it's Eli Manning with the New York Giants in that Super Bowl that they won against the Patriots with his arms up. I'm scrolling through looking to see if any bets came in. I hit by Twitter by accident, and that's what's popped up right now. Eli Manning. I have to bet it now. I got to look if there's a number. I got to throw a couple $100 on it, because if that's not a sign, nothing is. And, you got to believe in a little superstition.
Well, I did tell you, Gianni. I think it is. Here, I'll tell you right now. NFL specials. Aaron Rodgers to the Giants is exactly plus 1,200. Thanks for doing this, Gianni. Shout out to all of you guys. I'm thrilled to be back. I'll be hosting every day except Wednesdays moving forward, and that's what I wanted to make mention. Great news. The incredibly talented Kelly Stewart will be hosting WagerTalk Today on Wednesdays for the next few months moving forward. I'm excited to have her as an anchor on this show. We'll see you guys Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Lots of love, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.